Good afternoon, everyone. Climate change and associated risks. Powerful illustrations from recent Financial Times weekend edition. What makes taking control of climate change related risk so difficult? 5 reasons. There are 5 unique characteristics that the climate change related risk has. First, it is increasing in frequency and severity of the risk events. Second, it is non-linear. Once the threshold is reached, the impact is likely to be non-linear. Third, it is systemic. In today's globally interconnected world, if risk event happens in one part of the world, your business in other part of the world is likely to get impacted. It is systemic. And while it is global, the fourth one, it is highly local. If I was looking at flood risk at 2 Savoy Place, and if I'm wrong by a few hundred meters, and if my location goes on top of the bridge, the flood risk is very different, right? If you choose the location of the factory as your postal code, and if your factory is 400 meters inside, risk is very different. And fifth, most of the world is underprepared to deal with the risk. So given these 5 unique characteristics, how do we take control? What will it take to take control of the climate change related risks? For that, you need to be a consummate matchmaker. You need to really bring together, on one hand, the climate models that you can trust, and marry that with the digital twin of your physical portfolio. We in insurance, we do that every day because we need to take a risk and then apply it to the accurate location to find what is the risk involved. Now, how do you do that as a corporate? And I'm underscoring the word accurate, as I gave you the example earlier. And for you to have full control, you need to do that while you maintain your data privacy. And is that good enough for you to take full control? Probably not, till you are able to take those insights and share those insights with the right people at the right time, in the right shape and form, so that the right decisions could be taken. Otherwise, how can you be in control? So what we will discuss today is, how can you actually get this in place? What infrastructure do you need to be in control? And I'm going to share with you a few examples. So let's start with these 2 components, which is creating a digital twin while maintaining your data privacy. Digital twin seems like a complicated word. You have seen Google Map. What is a Google Map? It's a digital twin of the earth, right? Digital twin is nothing but a digital representation of your physical portfolio. How do you do that? Here is an example. This is an example of the infrastructure that we have laid out, which corporates can use. And this is showing different kinds of risks that they can take control on. But let's focus on the sustainability one, because that is what we are really looking at today. And you will see top right corner of the page. Can you see there, add data? That is where you basically add data to create a digital twin. If it is too complicated, you won't do it. So it needs to be simple, easy to understand. Do you want to quickly upload the data, or do you want a template? You probably have your location data sitting in some Excel in your laptop. You should be able to pick it up from that particular Excel and just upload it. And mind you, this data when you upload needs to stay in your private tenant if you want to keep control of your data. You're not sharing it with anyone else. You decide what to do with that particular data. You can replace, update existing data, and complete the upload, and you are ready for your digital twin. As simple as just uploading your Excel sheet containing your lat longs or the associated values that you want to upload. And once you have done it, you have your digital lid. Each of the blue dot that you see there is nothing but your location, your physical asset that you have. Let's go down into our warehouse somewhere in the center of England, and let's see what the risks are. We need to first of all understand what the risks are before you can decide what you want to do about that particular risk. Now, I discussed about accuracy. If I choose only one point, which we typically do lat long, is that good enough to define the risk of the entire warehouse? Probably not. So what you need to do, you need to actually define a polygon and say, hey, this is exactly how my factory is. Some of the energy infrastructure providers, they might have areas running into few square kilometers. So they need to map that particular area if they want to define their particular risks. So this is the first point that you need to do to create the digital twin before you marry it with the climate model. So then, having looked at creating a digital twin, let's look at how you can use the climate models. I'm going to show you Swiss Re's climate model right now, but I wouldn't say you are in control if I push you to only use Swiss Re's climate model, right? So this is an infrastructure. So if you are using some other climate model that you trust, you should be free to plug it into this particular infrastructure. I'm just showing it to you because I've got access to Swiss Re's climate model here. So let's start with, first of all, the current risks, and then we will look at the future risks. The current acute events, and then the future risks because of the climate change. So this is an overview of your digital twin. You have uploaded your location, whatever other information you might have uploaded about the location. But this is then diving into your warehouse at the center of England, and you're looking at, okay, what are the various flood risks that are associated with this polygon, not with a specific point, but with the polygon that you had drawn. Because when you draw the polygon, system automatically creates multiple data points and integrates the data to give you the risk score across that particular area. And you can look at different flood zones and different return periods, because you want to have better understanding of your risks. Because in the same warehouse, you might have just the flood risk, but different return periods. So you need to understand that. Looking at the storm. You see the wind speed, range, tornado intensity. You could look at n number of different perils, and that's what is important when you're looking at the climate risk. How many perils are covered? Does it have a global coverage? What's the accuracy level that you can go down to? All those things become extremely important if you want to understand your risks fully. And these are other hazards, which are wildfire, lightning intensity, volcano ash, earthquake. You need to take a look at all these different risks when you're looking at the current risks. Now let's look at the future risks. Future risks in terms of in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, as the chronic conditions evolve, how would the risk change, and hence how you should prepare for that particular risk? So on this side, you're seeing variety of risk types on the left, and on the horizontal axis, you're seeing how that particular risk will evolve as the time progresses in the 5-year intervals till the end of the century. And we are looking at 3 socio-economic pathways because depending upon how the decarbonization of the world happens, the risk levels would be different. And hence, your decision makers would want to create different scenarios before making investment decisions, or before you do think of insuring your risk, or before you do regulatory reporting such as TCFD. Looking at the same risk, but then you need to look at it from different angles, right? So this is, for example, the hazard risk, which is for those different risk types, is this high, medium, low, because the risk score on its own, what does that risk score mean? So you need to look at your risks from different angles. This is to compare. For example, if your location is already in a drought area or a high temperature area, then the delta might be smaller, but the impact itself overall, when you see at the end of that, could be still much higher. And this is looking at, for different years, which are the biggest risk drivers. So just giving you an example of when you want to understand your climate risk better, how you could look at that risk from all different angles so that you can take better decisions, and that's an important part of taking control of your risks. Now that you have got your climate risk scores, now that you have got your hazard scores, for you to control, you need to make these insights available to the right people so as to take the right decisions. So how do we do that? So let's do one thing. You probably would have heard of EU taxonomy, right? So just let's look at that. For that particular location, for the warehouse, we want to take the location report for all the different risks that we talked about, and we want to send a PDF easily and email it to somebody. That should be as easy rather than trying to send 15 different Excels in an email and the person sitting on the other side trying to figure out what did you just send, because not everybody in your organization is well versed with the climate risk parameters. So how do you make it easy for other person to make sense of your location report? And you can define what you want to have in the report, right? Again, you need to have the control. You can decide what all parameters you want to have, in what kind of reports you want to send to whom. This is just giving you an example of what all different information you can have for a location. So, in summary, you need to think of, do you have the risk infrastructure in place for you to take control of these particular risks? From different angles, from the climate models angles, for your ability to create the digital twin, marry that to your climate model, still keep your data private, and share the insights with the right people. If you have any questions, please.
Thank you very much. Very insightful presentation. So I used to be an operational risk manager for a very large company. And the issues that we had, okay, was I needed to take control of my risk, so I fully agree. Let's say that my factory is somewhere. Number one, my risk appetite, so if I take an earthquake example, my risk appetite was we will take a 7.8 earthquake, and I have to be up and running in 4 weeks because we were delivering to Volkswagen. Okay? So I don't care about 400 years or 200 years. I don't care about that. Okay? I got 4 weeks, and I'll take a 7.8 earthquake. So I will design my plant to be able to get back up and running. So I'm not looking at where my plant is. I'm looking at where my workers live, because my plant maybe survive. But if no one comes to work, I can't work. I can't deliver in my 4 weeks business interruption, okay? So how can I use your wonderful application?
Fantastic. In fact, I was talking with one of the clients in the US, and when she looked at the tool, or she looked at this infrastructure, what really stood out for her is when she looks at the map view and she said, aha, just by putting my locations here, I could see that my factory is not flooded, but there is only one road that leads to my factory, and that is flooded. And hence, while my factory is still intact, my operations are going to get impacted because the workers can't reach here. And that helps me in better assessing my risk. And that is what actually comes from the map view that you get for you to better assess that particular risk. So absolutely. You reduce your premium, right? I don't come from the insurance part of the, I'm an independent infrastructure provider.
That was the discussion we had. You would not lower your insurance premium.
Any other question? Super, thank you. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks.